Right. Sorted.
You are the man for that. Okay, we're live, ladies and gentlemen of Facebook land and YouTube world and all that. This is we're back to normal for our Thursday night show. Joining me.
Wait, what's normal?
What's normal for us?
Yeah, brilliant. Well done, Danny. Yeah, I haven't even finished my intro, and he's off. Okay, folks, this is your normal Thursday night edition of Mauls, Balls and All. It is just gone 8:30. Joining me are familiar faces, the crew, part of the crew that makes all this work. Joining me is Matt Boland. We have Mike Reedy, we have Danny Brosnan, and we are also awaiting the imminent arrival, he's never on time, of Dara Weston. So anyway, gentlemen, how the hell are we all? Are we all well in ourselves?
Fantastic.
Super.
Good stuff. Okay. Right. I do. I'm quite concerned for your welfare. You know, I like to ask and make sure you're okay.
All over your face.
There you go. All right, gentlemen. Matt Boland, I'll start with you. Now, we touched on this yesterday. I hadn't planned to, or we didn't plan to. You were on with me with Matt Williams, and it look, life happens. These things happen. The Maori and the Crusaders player Shane Christie tragically passed away yesterday and found in his home. The wedge player, the ex-wedge player Alex Popham, came out today. He was on the Wales Online website, and he was highly critical of World Rugby. The quote in the article, he was quoted as saying, "World Rugby, you just want to wake up and see what's going on with this," because he just said, look, not enough is being done about this. The question I'm trying to ask, without repeating ourselves from yesterday, for folks who didn't see yesterday's show, have a look at it and you'll see what Matt Williams said. But for those who haven't, let's just talk about it, because this Alex Popham only appeared in the Wales Online article today. And he was very critical of World Rugby about this, as I've just said. Matt Boland, again, player safety. There's more competitions for them. There is shorter time off. Matt, are World Rugby ever going to get a handle on this concussion player welfare issue? And if so, how the hell are they going to do it? What do they have to do?
Look, I mean, I don't think anybody can do enough for the likes of head injuries and concussions. And, when dealing with head injuries and concussions and brain and all that, it's even the best brain surgeons in the world really don't know what's going on in the brain, what can affect players. I think they're doing all they can at the moment, but there's probably a lot to be doing. So, the introduction of HIAs and the HIA protocols for players that do suffer a concussion, they have protocols that they have to pass and achieve before they can be allowed back on the pitch. That's a massive thing, and now with especially in the women's game with the mouth guards and all that sort of stuff, again, that's another step forward in the right direction. And like, the players all wear them kind of, I don't know what they're called, the little devices on the back, and they kind of measure the G forces on the players, and if it reaches a certain threshold, then the doctors will call them off. But like, it all ties in together, like concussions and mental health then off the pitch, and the players, they're professional, they want to be playing games, and they're probably devastated when they're stood down for games. And again, it brings in the whole Gary Ringrose thing, but we've talked about that, I won't mention that again. But like, he did the best thing for it, and I think that's another starting point and stepping stone in the right direction. But like, concussions and mental health, I'd say, is a massive thing as well. So players that they're told they can't do their job that they love, or, well, it's not really a job because they probably enjoy it so much that they wouldn't consider it a job. It's more of a career, I suppose. And if they're not able to play, then they're probably sitting at home, thinking about oh, if I had done this differently, you know, if I didn't get that head knock, I'd be out there again. And that's probably feeding into mental illnesses as well, with depression and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, there is a massive stigma in mental health, especially in men, that they just don't talk. And I think if World Rugby kind of, if they do something in terms of like speaking your mind, or if you're not feeling right in your head, speak to someone or a coach, or there's always somebody there that's going to listen. And I think that message needs to get out for pro players as well, because they probably feel a little bit isolated as well, that they can't talk, because like it's a physical game, it's a manly game, you know, and you know, men are just men, you know, like they don't talk enough. And that's, I think, what World Rugby need to be doing as well, to tie it all in together, because one bit leads into the next, and you know, they all need support, whether it's concussion or head injuries, or if they're at home, that's even somebody's checking on them, you know. And I'm sure they do, but look, you know, you can never do enough for this, and the more that they do, it's only going to get better.
Okay, all right, good stuff. Thanks, Matt. Mike Grady, your feelings about all this, and is enough being done by the powers that be for the players at the moment?
First of all, I'd like to send my condolences to that gentleman, that poor man who passed away in New Zealand. God rest him. Is enough being done? How much can they do? Like, you know, they are doing. There's a hell of a lot more being done now than there was even 2, 3, 5 years ago. It probably needs to go. It probably does need to go further, but I think they are working on it. And lads, in fairness, you don't have the same facilities in other sports, and maybe you don't have the same level of impact and collisions in other sports, but there's a fair bit being done. Now, something that it was a little bit of a concern, there was a survey done recently with like school boys playing rugby and stuff, and they were asked the question, would they, like, you know, would they stand down? And a very high percentage of them said no, they wouldn't. No, and I think actually what Matt mentioned, Gary Ringrose, what Gary Ringrose did during the Lions tour should resonate like amongst all rugby players. They should all think, Christ, if he's doing it, lads, you know, it has to be the right thing to be doing. And it is the right thing to do, lads. There's people have lost all sorts, like they've contacted like all sorts of conditions like motor neuron disease and other depreciating, like bodily depreciating conditions, you know, as a result of injuries sustained while playing rugby, you know, and that's sad. But I think rugby, I think World Rugby are doing. But as something else that Matt mentioned, or that you mentioned as well, Peter, is the actual workload, the volume of workload that players are expected to endure, you know, over the course of a season, needs to be seriously looked at, and particularly like you guys mentioned on the other show, as regards something, Peter, but the French union should be
Hold on, Mike. Danny is doing his best to wreck the show. Hold on,
Yeah.
just let's all have a pause now and just wait
He's
for
trying
Danny
to find his good angle. Give him a minute.
Yeah, just hold on there. Just Danny, you all right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
You look good. You look good, Danny. We can see your half your head. That's enough. It's big enough. We can see half it. No, it is a little bit of a concern, like that France won't play ball with the rest of the rugby world.
No, we'll come on to that, Mike. We'll come on to that. We'll come on to that.
Are you? But it's heading in a better direction. I mean, the women now wearing gum shields as well that detect the impacts is another great thing, because like, even though the women's game is not pro rata as physical as the men's game, especially the professional men's game, and even at a level, it's very, very physical due to the size and of players. And I mean, if you compare like locks on a women's team to locks on a men's team, they're night and day. Like the impacts aren't as great. But but they still you still could
Oh,
bang.
Jesus Christ, Mike! That's a bit of an out there comparison. Now you look at the likes of when she was playing Nicola Friday, Sam Monaghan,
Oh no, there's some.
Eva Wafer. I mean, if any of those women are running at you full tilt, by
no.
Jesus.
I think it's relevant in the terms of the size of men going against men. I don't think the hits would be any different in terms of like
No,
say for argument's sake the women's players are 20% smaller than the men's players. They still or 20% the weight. The impact that they're going to hit the other players will still be the same force because of the size.
Exactly.
You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
It wouldn't be any less strong in terms of, but their size would dictate that. You know what I mean? So I'd say the hits are still the same.
Yeah.
In all
Okay.
reality,
Is that sorry? Go on, Mike. Go on.
in all reality, it doesn't actually take. It doesn't have to necessarily take a massive impact. If you have two heads clashing together at any speed, even a side glance, that's enough to give you a concussion.
But sure, a little like if you get a little smack in the temple, that's enough to knock you out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it doesn't
No,
have to be-
here, listen, I've been there, seen that, done that. Okay, sorry, Mike, have you finished your point? I want to move on.
Peter, on you go.
All right, okay. Danny Brosnan, your thoughts on this? As I said, the player safety, excuse me, are World Rugby doing enough? As we spoke with yesterday with Matt Williams, the unfortunate, the tragic passing of the Maori Crusade, ex-Maori, New Zealand Maori and Crusaders player Shane Christie. And it only came back up again. Not that it was gone, but it only came back into my thought process when I saw the article about the ex-Welsh player Alex Popham was highly critical of World Rugby. Danny, your thoughts on what are World Rugby doing enough for their members? Sorry, go on.
When you look at it, there'll always be enough people out there saying no, they're not doing enough for head injuries and stuff like that. And the whole Christie event, I think, is fairly relevant of that at the moment. But you have to look at it from the other side of the fence, where you don't want to change the game of rugby too much. So where the game changes so beyond recognition. Now, I think World Rugby could take certain elements from the NFL, who are having similar issues with concussions and with their players, and how they're dealing with that, and maybe adapting that to rugby. Same with the rugby league. But with the whole lawsuit coming against World Rugby and various local RFUs, it's going to come to a point where they're going to have to go do something seriously about how head collisions are taken care of. And an awful lot of that comes down to training. I'd love to know what the head collisions were like maybe 30 odd years ago, or maybe 35 years ago, when it was the amateur era in rugby, and how that affected. Maybe they're just as bad, but players have gotten bigger, players have gotten stronger. They're going to hit harder compared to back then. But I think they need to update what they're doing now in terms of tackling and stuff like that. Making sure players are. I know these things are literally nanoseconds of time, how you position yourself in that, but I think it's just getting those little bits and pieces right about how you're tackling and where you're tackling and stuff like that. You're never going to eliminate all concussions from the game. You'll always get a few concussions here and there. But as Matt said, and Mike mentioned as well about Gary Ringrose taking the time away from the game, I think that's a smart move of him by his part for his own sake. But I think it sent out a clear message to players as well. It's okay to say, I'm concussed, I'm not playing my best, I need time away to recover. It's also sends out a positive message saying, the team is more important than me. And sometimes you need to realize 3 weeks out or whatever, recover from this, get back to your best, then play your best for the team. All these things are important. World Rugby, I think, need to have a look at what's causing concussions and see if it's players going in too high, if your players are coming in a bit too high, and see if and if it's down to tackling technique and what. It's just looking at things and maybe re-coaching players and how to tackle and tackling properly and various little things like that, and how to be more mindful of what they're doing on the field. But like I said, sometimes it's nanoseconds. You have to make a decision, and you're not going to eliminate all from the game, but you could do a bit more, but it's a learning process. So,
Yeah, true. Okay, no, that I know the good point, Danny. Dara, before I come to you, James, I've no idea who James is. Peter Burke is a Muppet. Thanks, James. But he also said, R.I.P. Shane Christie, read about that. I think there should be support programs for former players. There is, James. There is a lot of programs for former players, and thank you for your comments. Dara Weston, your thoughts on all this, on what we have just spoken about. And Danny, funny enough, Danny touched on something there. He reminded me of something. In the Women's Rugby World Cup today, so far, now it's only round one, but it's kind of rare, or it's rarer in the women's game that you see a woman player being taken off for a HIA. But anyway, Dara, back to the original point. We come on to that my second point there, but the whole idea of World Rugby doing enough for concussions and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, call me cynical, but no. So if you think it's about 10 years ago, that film with Will Smith came out where he was a doctor that uncovered all this CTE going back decades in NFL players.
Yep.
That was based on a book that came out a couple of years before that. So let's say 15 years. Like years, I remember in the 2000s, early 2000s, people criticizing the GA because hurlers weren't wearing helmets. And the hurlers were saying, oh, but sure, we can't wear the helmets. It ruins our peripheral vision. It's been mandatory since 2010. Yeah. Cyclists in the Tour de France, stuff like that, they have to wear crash helmets as well. So, I mean, is there something to be said for obligatory use of scrum caps, at least to give some kind of head protection?
But apparently they don't work, Dara, because I was in the company of a surgeon a couple of months back. He knew what I did, and I asked him that exact question. He said it doesn't matter. You could be wearing a crash helmet.
To you, because you were a back, all it would have done was mess your hair. But if you're shoving your head in between other lads' heads at force, like I regularly used to do, then
no, but hold on.
It certainly doesn't amplify the effect. It can only mitigate it.
The thing about it is, Dara, it might mitigate it, but this is a trained professional in this bloody field, right? It doesn't matter what you're wearing on your head, right? Scrum cap, he said, a Formula One driver's helmet. It's the impact on the head. When you get hit and your head suddenly stops, be it a head-on-head collision or you collide with something, it's the brain moves inside the skull. That's where the damage is done, apparently. If you're wearing a helmet or a skull cap, it's still going to happen. It might reduce it by a tiny percentage, he said, but it's not going to eliminate it. And that's the issue.
Oh no, I'm not saying it will eliminate it and solve the problem.
No, sorry, okay, yeah.
The same way, if a hurler gets a smack in the head and he's wearing a helmet with a hurley, he's still going to have a fucking headache. But it's going to mitigate the impact of a hurley hitting off his bare head. So I'm not suggesting it's a solution, but I'm suggesting it might be something, even if it lessened it by 5%. That's a valuable 5%.
It stands to reason, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So go on, Mike.
If you're cushioning, I mean, if both players are wearing like a scrum cap, it's going to cushion the impact some amount, and you mightn't sustain the soft tissue injuries that you would like direct head on head. I mean, a head on head, like, it's too fucking hard. Skulls hitting each other is going to do more damage than somebody wearing a cushion thing.
Sure,
Yes.
fuck it. We'll just wrap everybody's head in bubble wrap then, will we?
Exactly. Sorry.
Well,
yeah.
okay.
Dara Weston, sorry, will you finish your point there, Dara? Sorry to.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah. That was the main thing. Look, I think, they have done a lot, but is there other things they can do? Yeah, there is, and I mean, I think that the head doctor for World Rugby now is Aina Falvey, who used to be the Irish team doctor.
Yeah.
So I mean, he would obviously be aware of the GAA's experience, of bringing in helmets and stuff. So, it just seems crazy that, scrum caps aren't just to stop cauliflower ears, but it's still completely optional whether you wear them or not. Which,
I think you've a fair point, because if they made scrum cap wearing mandatory for every player, you are giving everybody some sort of head protection, because
exactly
there is padding in it. Whether it's only 5% extra, that's something extra of protection.
Okay.
And the thing is, kids won't wear them until they see the grown-ups wearing them. Their idols.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Like look at the likes of Jack Noel, who always wore a scrum cap. Lee Halfpenny always wore a scrum cap. Mac Hansen always wears a scrum cap. They wear it for a reason, and they're probably trying to protect their head. Like
Ty Byrne, Olsen Dalan back in the day.
I understand forwards wearing them more so than backs. Like you rarely see backs, but the more backs you see wearing it means that they're actually trying to do something extra to protect themselves.
Yeah. True. Okay. Sorry, Mike, were you going to say something there?
No, fine.
No, sorry, I was going to say my add-on question there, Matt. The Women's Rugby World Cup, we haven't really seen an awful lot of women coming off for a HIA assessment. It was brought up earlier, mentioned earlier about the gum shields that they're wearing. Is it a case that the gum shields aren't working, or what is going on there, Matt? Do you think?
I wouldn't say it's a case of the gum shield's not working. I would say that if you looked more technical into the women's game, their tackle technique is probably better. Because girls are a little bit more, how do you say it? They're not cautious, but they'd be more aware of other people, and like the way they go about their everyday, they're just a little bit more aware than men are. Whereas men at times just go bullheaded into everything and fucking close my eyes and I'll run as hard as I can. Whereas women are just a little bit more.
Eva Wafer.
Look, absolutely, she is a bulldog. But like, I'm just saying, maybe it's just that their tackle technique is better. Something is, because there's clearly not getting as many HIAs in the game. So I don't think it's down to the sheer size, because just because you're 20% smaller than somebody doesn't mean you don't have the same impact when you're hitting somebody 20% smaller, that sort of way. So
yeah, no, true. No, a good point, Matt. Mike Reedy, your thoughts on this?
I agree with Matt. Their tackle technique is different and better, and something that has to be eliminated from the game is any tackle above. I mean, they're talking about bringing in a line on your shirt at chest level or something like that, and you have to tackle, and that has got to be made mandatory, like as soon as, because this idea. I mean, it was never part of the game back in the day, like head on head contact in a tackle. I know it was brought in to stop people offloading, sort of tackling somebody around their arms or something like that. That's to stop the offload in the tackle. But has it enhanced the game as a viewing spectacle? I don't think so. And I mean, the emphasis is always, or has for a number of years, what a hit, as regards to tackle. That's absolute nonsense, in my opinion. I've never been an advocate for that at all. I prefer to see guys throwing the ball about and playing skillful rugby, and the game as a viewing spectacle is better.
See, I don't think you can compare head injuries nowadays to head injuries years ago, because years ago you didn't have the camera angles, you didn't have the replays, the TVs were shitter, you could barely see Anton anyway. Do you know what I mean?
You didn't have a TMO, Matt.
And you didn't exactly. So there was a lot of shit that used to go on in them pitches that that nobody knew about and players didn't even know about, and they just continued on because they were unaware.
Absolutely, and we're reaping the rewards of that. Like the rugby world has been sued for whatever, for head injury sustained. Like,
oh well, I'll come on to that, Mike. Now that's my follow-on point. But I sorry, Mike. Go on. Have you finished, Mike?
As regards the women, though, I think the women have a better tackle technique and they tackle lower. They're not as aggressive in the tackle. Probably, I don't know.
Okay.
If ever, and there are players that are exceptions to the cause, but they have a better tackle technique. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. Thanks, Mike. Great points raised. Nice one. Danny Brosnan, your thoughts on this bit? You being the fan of, well, more so than us here, of women's rugby. You're a great supporter of women's rugby, I'll give you that. But what are your thoughts on this, Danny? The women not getting as many, well, it doesn't appear that they're getting as many HIAs as the men.
There is 2 tackles I'd love everyone to check out at some stage. One of them was from the 2023 Six Nations, was done by Niamh Jones of Ireland. It was on one of the English players. It was almost a perfect tackle technique. She was low, she hit below the rib cage, she lift her up and drove her back. It was, to me, that was the perfect tackle technique for everyone to look at. There was another one then done by an Australian Sevens player, Maddie Levi, and she came up behind there, got her, caught the arm, stripped the ball and everything, and make a turnover. Those little things that they're doing, they're not looking to stop the offload. Sometimes they seem to be going for the arm, like they're looking to dig the arm loose and get the ball loose. That's what they seem to be going for. It's smarter tackling technique rather than trying to stop the offload by hitting the player. They seem to be trying to stop the offload by going for the arm, reducing head injuries per way. Now that's the way I'm seeing it here. So maybe it's something that the men's side could look at as well, along with the proper tackling technique. And I've seen it anyway. So there are little bits and pieces that could be looked at as well.
So Danny, it's the offload. Ignore the offload. Just take woman and ball. Is that?
So you see, what I see is a lot of the players when they're going stopping the offload, they're going for the arm. You know what I'm saying? If you're coming in, you're looking to, let's say, get the arm underneath the ball and get the arm loose in such a way that they can knock it on and the ball comes loose or something like that.
But if that was, sorry, Danny, if just to clarify, if that was the case, then the tackler is going shoulder high into the mid breast to get at that angle there.
Yeah, but no, see, what they're doing is they're probably looking for to get the elbow or the biceps and pull on that. They're not looking to come in at the side and hit them. They're looking to, if your hand is there like this for the ball, they'll try to get their hand in sometimes, or maybe up the bicep, and then pull the arm. Because if you're pulling the arm, you don't have as much control over the ball rather than get the hit. You know what I mean? If you're taking body and ball and player.
Yeah, but well, see, Danny, you need a bloody good wrap technique if you're going to do that though as well at that height.
I've seen them do it, and some of them have that technique down, and it's done great. But I've seen some of them go for the arm, and I think it's smarter play anyway. But that's my opinion on it.
No, okay. Thanks, Danny. Dara Weston, last point on this. You touched on it, but I wanted to explore it further, so to speak. Is there any reason that you think of, Dara, that as Matt and Mike and Danny have said previous, why the HIA amongst women is less or appears to be less? I don't know. I haven't seen the stats. It could be the same. I don't know, but it just appears to be less.
I mean, one of the things could be the quality of coaching they get. So if you think back to when most of us started playing mini rugby, it was one of the club members who'd be showing you how to play. When you went into secondary school, it was probably an Irish teacher or a maths teacher who was bringing you out for, or a geography teacher who was bringing you out for
Yeah.
rugby coaching.
Yeah,
It was only when you started getting to JCT and SCT level that you actually had proper coaches who knew what they were talking about. And then when you went, whereas the girls are going through the club system, where you have people who have, they're accredited and they've done all the proper coaching things through the IRFU, etc. So, are girls actually getting a better standard of coaching, and are they kind of more mature when they're receiving this coaching? Because, if you start at mini rugby level, which, okay, most of the women's internationals at the moment probably won't have started mini rugby, but we are starting to see more kind of girls mini rugby teams now. It's literally kind of like anything go. Well, it's no contact, or it's limited contact, but I mean, that's the only thing I can think of maybe is that, secondary school, and he was an Irish teacher and he was just looking for scalps rather than clean tackles.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Okay. Okay, moving on. Matt Boland, our
Lucy.
next. Sorry, what?
I think Darren's Wi-Fi froze.
Yeah, no, sorry, no, Dara, your Wi-Fi froze there for a second. But you're okay now, it appears. Matt Boland.
Okay. Yeah.
The Women's Rugby World Cup. I said this into our chat group, and this is why I was kind of keen to get Danny on about this. But the Women's Rugby World Cup has broken records. And if I just read here from Danny's message when we were talking earlier about what we were going to discuss, Danny sent a very interesting screenshot from Caelan Scully, who reposted this. I was kind of aware, but I didn't have the numbers. 85,000 plus fans attended matches, which is a record. There was a peak of 2.4 million viewers for the Red Roses versus the USA match on BBC One, which I find absolutely staggering. Great. It's great to see, but Jesus, that's mad. 3.2 million in France on TF1. I presume that's a TV station. A national record for women's rugby. And Matt, 77 million video views. And my question is, and I think Danny, you answered it in our chat group. What's driving this? My question was: is it simply just marketing? It has to be more than that, though, Matt, doesn't it?
Well, firstly, it's no more than they deserve, because
absolutely, yes,
they're putting it in, and now I suppose more recently in Ireland that they've been made professional would probably stir up a bit of interest in it, because like. Anything that's professional, like if guys are going to watch rugby matches and then, there's another women's rugby match on the TV, they're going to watch it. Do you know what I mean? And especially now that it's professional, like I would, if I was flicking through the stations and I came across any rugby match, whether it was like a Curry Cup down in South Africa or a Super Rugby or anything like that, I'd fucking watch it. Do you know what I mean?
Or it could be under 16s, Matt.
Absolutely. And if I was walking through the park, the same thing. Do you know what I mean? But part of it is probably down to marketing, and the more marketing that goes on, the more it gets out there, and social media is a massive thing. And I think it's also probably a lot of the individuals, like you've got Ilona Maher, who is on Instagram, and she's got like 5.1 million followers, and now that she's now playing in the UK is a massive thing, and kids are going to be seeing that, and little boys and girls are going to be watching. Well, probably not that little, but you know what I mean? Like teenagers on Instagram and all that sort of, seeing these kind of people playing and going, that's amazing. And that's kind of drumming it up as well. So I'd say it is probably marketing from the professional side, and the clubs and the countries are promoting it, but it's also down to certain individuals. Like even look at Anna Capeless. She has a huge following on Instagram as well, and she's always posting about La Rochelle, and she played in the UK as well, and she went down to the Lions tour, and she's traveling everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And it's things like that would get more interest in it.
Okay. Sorry, I really want to ask Danny this question because, as we all know, Danny is a big fan of the women's rugby setup. Danny, your thoughts on this? What's driving this? Is it, as Matt said, Instagram posts, social media? What Ilona Maher, with all her followers, one of the biggest rugby players followers on Instagram. What do you think it is, Danny?
I think Matt was right saying that the social media side of it has helped. But I think there's been a few other key factors as well. We held the World Cup in 2017 here in Ireland. There was barely a talk about it from what I remember back 8 years ago. But then you look at the delayed tournament that's held in 2022 in New Zealand, and as far as I remember, they nearly sold out Eden Park in New Zealand for that final between England and New Zealand.
So, Danny, have you swallowed your microphone or something? Or have you put a towel over your microphone or something? You're a bit kind of stuffed.
I know.
Are you close to it, or try that, or back away?
A bit of distance away, and a bit of sore throat as well.
All right, okay.
But what's happened was, I think in the few years that happened, I think COVID played its fair share of things, because I think a lot more people were looking online for old rugby matches. I think women's game, started coming, maybe appearing more on the algorithm. You had social media playing its part. You had the interventions playing its part. But for people of a certain generation, including my own and maybe yourselves and other people, there is a resemblance to the game that we played at club level. It's not overly structured. It's not overly technical. It's probably a style of rugby that we can relate to in a way, and it's enjoyable that way. You can see the mistakes. You can understand the mistakes. There is a certain, I suppose, to me, there's a certain connection in how they play and how they do it. You're not looking at your 3-man pod. You're not playing 5 or 6 faces ahead. You can, but if something happens in the meantime, you can make an entirely plan. It's exciting in its own way, which makes it great. Which it has formed, I think, a huge part of the appeal in it. But I think what's happening as well was TV stations realised that there was a growth there for women's game and sport, and they've gone with it, and it's just literally taken off year on year. I think World Rugby have helped in promoting games in certain ways, so especially with the WXV competition and trying to get more games out there, it has helped. But like this, I think it was just everything just came together at the right time. We had the right names, the right competitions, all the sort of thing. Everything just gelled and it just hit at the right time. I think COVID helped that, and people realised how good the women's game was from watching maybe old games or highlights of games. Then maybe going to games when restrictions came up, you realised how good it was. And I think it just snowballed in the right direction. Thankfully, I think that there are a lot of little contributing factors that have helped that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. The very good points, Danny. Yes, Mike Reedy, your thoughts on the apparent massive increase in interest in women's rugby? What is driving it, Mike? That you can see.
First and foremost, the product itself. The actual standard of the rugby is top class as far as I'm concerned. It's really, really, it's up. I went to see. I was at two or three women's internationals about 10 years ago. I went to see Ireland play Scotland in consecutive years, whatever. And the difference now compared to then is night and day. Even though Ireland won a Grand Slam and such, the actual standard of the rugby is very, very good. I watched all those games. I watched all the women's games at the weekend, like on Sky Sports New Zealand. I was watching it on all sorts of channels just to get to see them. And it was really, really, it's a good product. Marketing is a key factor, and also the social media thing. There's all sorts. I mean, it's just a really good game to watch. I enjoy it. I get great enjoyment out of it. And like Danny said, it's probably more relatable to amateur rugby than the men's game is. I mean, there's a big divide between like the upper end of men's rugby as against amateur rugby, whereas there's probably less of a divide with women's. And there's a lot more players playing. There's all sorts of things. I mean, we have the four provinces now, and they're all pretty decent. I watched those games the other day, and like, you know, there's all sorts of factors. I don't know what it's like in other countries now. Even here in Scotland, I'm not sure how big a draw it is yet. There's still
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
They still call egg chasing here, you know, in Glasgow especially. So,
Come here, Mike. Were you watching all these games on your absolute straight up honest subscriptions to Sky Sports, and you weren't using any dodgy stick?
No,
or anything like
He's
that?
trying to get us taken off the air here.
even to suggest
You go for there.
Carefully answer.
We're
Carefully.
putting in an application for TV license money. Will you shut up?
I know, yeah. Okay. All right, go on. Dara Weston, give us your take on this. The apparent, and it's great to see. It is great to see. I love it. Increase in interest in the women's rugby, particularly with this year's Women's Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think was Danny pointed out about Alona Maher, and she has 9 million followers on Instagram and TikTok and all these. When you think the nearest male player is Sia Khaleesi and Sonny Bill Williams have about 1.3 million followers each. So absolutely dwarfing what the male players have on social medias.
I said it originally, and I thought it was only 5.1, so it's 9.1. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, like, when you think she has basically become a one-woman marketing machine since the Olympics in Paris.
That's great. It's great. Great.
Because she's brought so much attention to the women's rugby. You know, and yeah, you know, as the lads have said, it, you know, maybe it is a more relatable kind of version of the game for people to watch. But, you know, and honestly, and maybe, you know, it's closer to a kind of, you know, maybe some people will say it as a kind of a purer version of rugby, you know, without all the corporate stuff.
That's a great point, Dara. That's a great point.
You know, plus the fact that the Safas aren't really competing in it kind of helps as well, you know.
Yeah, all right. Don't set Mike off. For Jesus' sake, don't set Mike off.
Don't
Mike off.
All right. Okay. Neil McKeown. Hi, Neil. Mike Reedy. BBC are showing all the games, so you don't have to rely on your dodgy whatever.
Anything. Watch it wherever. Watch it.
You probably got in a Christmas cracker, that bloody thing you're talking about. You keep banging on about. Okay. All right. Right, Matt Boland, let's move on because we are fast running out of time, as we always do on these things. It's just because we have too much to talk about. There's loads to talk about now.
Because we
Matt
waffle
Boland,
on as well.
As we waffle on, yeah, but everyone has to have a go at expressing their point. Let's go back to this is our colleague Len. He threw in this particular point to talk about. The Fassi, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his first name. No, I'm not. Go on. Someone pronounce it. Go on. Someone pronounce it.
Also, that's Bishop Len to you little bollocks.
Mangama Zulu.
That's not who he was talking about.
That's not what I'm talking about.
All right. Go on.
Jesus Christ. Mike, do you want to go out and come back in again? Do you want to reset
I don't know who you're talking about because I didn't see it anyway. So.
Oh, you didn't see it? All right. Well, then I'm not going to ask you. Matt Boland, Fassi for South Africa. Should have been, according to Nigel Owens, should have been carded for his deliberate knockdown and then his tackle.
What the fuck?
Is someone calling for you, Mike?
It's the dodgy box police at Mike's door.
The dodgy box police.
That's your window.
But come here.
Clubs, that's where it is.
Oh, for Christ's sake, Jesus. Right, all right. Okay, can we?
Not
Okay,
playing
look,
fast.
lads,
Yeah.
we got 14. We got 14. We got.
You're
My
talking
God, we have 14 minutes left. Right, there's no guests. It's just us. Right, let's go.
Afalele Fassi is who you're talking about.
There you go. He, according to Nigel Owens, he should have been yellow carded for his deliberate knockdown, although it wasn't. It was knocked back, and then he didn't release in the tackle. Blah de blah. Matt, did you see that? Am I wasting my breath here talking?
No, look, I mean, I did see it when I
Right.
was watching the game. I thought in the split second that it occurred, I thought maybe the TMO would look at it, but then as quick as it happened, it just quickly moved on, and I thought no more of it. It was only afterwards when I saw it online, I was like, yeah, that should have been a penalty. At least, now, look, Nigel Owens, ex-referee, he knows the laws, blah, blah, blah. I mean, technically, when you tackle a player and you put him down on the ground, you have to let go. So he didn't.
And he didn't. He didn't.
He didn't do that. But not only did he not do that, he had him around the neck as well. So, for me, there was 2 infringements there, really, that he could have been pinged on. So, but look, again, these things, like, you're talking about inconsistency in TMOs and this type of thing, and here we are again, we don't want to be blaming referees going down that road, and I'm sure Australia don't either, because, realistically, that's not what lost them the game. What lost them the game was their poor kicking and that type of thing, and their missed opportunities and stuff. But yeah, look, it definitely should have been looked at. I definitely think it was a penalty.
Yeah, no.
At minimum, a penalty.
Yes, I would totally agree with you, Matt. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Danny, did you see that particular incident that we are talking about?
No.
You didn't, and Mike, you didn't see it either.
I saw the last 20 minutes. Was it before the last 20 minutes of the game?
Yeah.
It was in the last quarter.
I was working. I only came in and saw the last 20 minutes of the game, and I agree with what Matt said. Australia should have won the game. They threw it away.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Matt Williams would agree with you as well.
Yeah.
Okay. We've lost Dara. He's trying to. I know he was struggling there with his Wi-Fi, but
he's after getting hauled out by the guards. Did you not hear? For fuck's sake!
Yeah.
You pay for us is Mrs. anniversary or her birthday.
I thought it was my chipper arriving. Anyway,
in a Gardagar.
I know. Yeah, I know. But see. I tell you what, lads. Delivery drivers from chippers and pizzas should be allowed to use flashing blue lights. Right? I'm going to campaign on this. Right?
I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
As long as we get it quicker, I don't really care.
Well, there you go. All right. Last point before we go on to our because I suspect this could take up. What are we? 49 minutes. All right. Okay. So the last point before we go on to our win, lose, or draw. Danny, I'm going to come to you first on this, and we go around that way as I'm looking at the screen. Yesterday we had a very interesting topic on the show, and it was brought up by our guest, Matt Williams, and he said, "I actually can't remember, Matt Bowden, what we were talking about." No. I'll ask the question, but I can't remember the subject matter of yesterday's show. How this came up? But he was saying, "Oh, I do."
You do. It was. I do.
Yes, skeleton. Danny, the big thing, and that this has been discussed before. We've mentioned this on shows before, and I think you have mentioned it on your own show on Monday Night The Breakdown. The French teams tend to hold not World Rugby, but the rugby planners, so to speak, to ransom over certain things, with players releasing them for duty for international duty, for French provincial teams, club teams taking part in European competitions, most notably the Heineken Cup. I'm not calling it that other stupid name. Hold on. We have Dara back. There we go. Welcome back, Dara. Danny, so the point was being made that, and I don't particularly think this is a right way to do this, that if ever World Rugby wanted to have a global calendar, the French would object, and that would slow everything down in the sense that the French Rugby Union don't own the clubs. The clubs are all independently owned, like similar to the way some of the English clubs are owned. So should that change, and would a global rugby calendar be the way forward? Danny, there's a lot to that, so I'll just let you go off. Go on.
In terms of all competitions being played at the same time, I think that's a pain in the fucking arse. Because like you're playing summer rugby in one hemisphere, you're playing winter rugby in another. So the way it's set up at the moment, there is a nice cycle thought between let's say the northern hemisphere starting in say September, working all the way through June, and then we have Super Rugby kind of crossing over at the same time, and you have the Rugby Championship, and then you're more or less back into the URC cycle again by the time that's over. But there is a nice kind of yearly flow to it. Now, I did post something like this before, I think it was maybe last year or two, where I'd have loved if they had got, if Northern Hemisphere, if they did the league system first, got that out of the way, that goes straight into Six Nations. Then you have your Champions, your Challenge Cup competitions, and you can go straight into summer test then if you want. But other than that, I wouldn't have it in such a way that both hemispheres are playing their competitions at the same time.
But Danny, the thrust of this particular argument was that the French are holding everyone else to ransom because they'll just go, nah.
I have to say, I agree with them. They're right.
All
I
right.
think they're okay to keep it the way it is at the moment. Now, there is a few minor little changes I'd make. I think they'll leave Northern Hemisphere from, let's say, September to May, and then you've got Southern Hemisphere from there, right? For the fans,
Yeah.
if you have rugby on non-stop, and then there is a huge summer break.
Well, it's not a huge summer break, Danny.
You know what I mean? Like, it's if you got two or 2 months or whatever, where there's very little rugby on, so it's going to be
no, I know what you mean. But if you take in a Lions year and then a Rugby World Cup and blah, it doesn't. No, I know. Yeah, Dara Weston. Sorry, go on, Danny. Yeah.
It's always years in between.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Dara Weston, you're thinking behind this.
I agree with Danny, and I agree with the French. I mean, look at Kinghorn. He finished up a week before the first Lions game, and he was laid over to join the tour because that's when the top 14 or the Pro 14 finishes, the final. I think he had a week off after the final, and then he joined up with the Lions. So he was already. That was, I think, 2 weeks after the match in the Aviva, the Argentina game, and the rest of the Lions have been over there. So the French finish later, and then like they're probably gone back into preseason training about 2-3 weeks at this stage.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's already a long season. Then you have talk of the Rugby 360 thing or whatever, and they're going to play that at certain times of the year, a couple of games in April, a couple of games around Christmas, whatever it is, I don't know. So, I mean, the key thing is there's actually a player welfare issue here in that, rugby is such a physical game. And when Greg McWilliams was on with us, he made a really interesting point that in American football, the average length of play for a player is about 15 seconds. In rugby, it's between 30 and 40 seconds. And now remember, obviously, the American football players, they're on the pitch for 5 minutes, then they go off and sit down and the backs go on, then the backs come off and the forwards go on. Whereas, in rugby, you're playing consistently. Okay, now, at the moment, maybe there's something to be said, and we've talked about it before, for reduced number of substitutions so that you don't have 130 kilo props playing for 60 minutes and then being replaced by 140 kilo props. that you have a 110 kilo guy who can play 80 minutes. But yeah, no, I think like the season is long enough. It's there as it is. We're trying to find where to fit in extra, things. Then, I mean, if you take into account, if there's bad snow in, France or Ireland or England, that's going to mess up the schedules then potentially for Heineken
Yeah.
Cup or, URC. So then you're going to have to reschedule those games. So it's like it's already, I think, a long enough season.
Yeah, but Darrell, do you remember the whole fiasco there? Was it 1 or 2 seasons ago with Ulster and La Rochelle?
Yeah.
Where you have situations like that as well.
Exactly. And I mean, we've got to remember it's only basically every second year, it's only that players get like a 2.5 month break.
Yes.
Because there's either Lions or there's a World Cup going on. So,
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, Dara. Thanks, Danny. Matt, what do you think about all this?
Well, look, I mean, we all know that the rugby calendar is pretty much full, and that there is little time for rugby players to recuperate and get the time off efficiently that they need to recover from the stress of a rugby calendar, and you've got the likes of Six Nations through URC and Champions League, and then summer break where you could be on a summer tour, and then yada, yada, yada. It goes on and on. In terms of the French and the power that they have, I think that's down to business, really, at the end of the day,
Yes.
because as Matt Williams rightly pointed out, they're not owned by the French Rugby Union. They're owned independently. And for independent rugby clubs to survive, they need to make money. And when, as Matt rightly pointed out, when they take on foreign players, they're given 2 contracts essentially. Whether they give up international rugby or not. But the same thing happened to Johnny Sexton, and he told a story when he went to Racing 92 years ago. In his contract, he had to, between the break in the Six Nations, he had to go back and play for Racing during that break. And he was asking like Lee Halfpenny at the time, he goes, how come you don't have to go? And he goes, oh, I wrote it into my contract at the start. And that's where, and you know how flogged Johnny Sexton was over in France. So in terms of their season is clearly way too long, but like you said, like World Rugby, if they want to do something about it, they have to take the French to task on that.
But they won't, Matt, as we discussed last.
Because of the power that the independents have over there, and unless they bring in something, I don't know, like the rugby season has to run from X to Y or something like that, then they have to conform or whatever. But how you do it, I really don't know.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
You have to be aware of player welfare and player safety, and
of course, absolutely, yes, you're right. Mike Reedy, your last voice on this before we go into our win, lose, or draw for the upcoming games, because we are just coming up to the hour mark. Mike, go ahead.
The big thing in French rugby is club rugby takes precedence over the international game always now. It never used to. And it's had an effect on the French national team. I mean, they took out a very understrength team to play in New Zealand this year, and it left a little bit of a sour taste, if we're honest. But they will not relent. They won't relent. It's a French psyche now as well. I don't know whether it goes back to the Second World War because they got flogged in that.
Jesus Christ, can you just stick to the rugby and stop bringing politics into it?
They've taken the decision now.
I feel a rant.
Hell, I know, yeah. Jesus.
France will go on strike for anything. If anybody tries to fucking raise anything in France, the whole country goes on strike.
They go on strike for shits and giggles.
Yeah,
air traffic controllers, gentlemen. There we go.
But aren't they right? Do you remember they had their yellow vests and they were going on strike because they were trying to raise the pension age? Whereas, well, you're okay, Mike, but for the rest of us, we won't be able to retire till we're fucking 70. We won't be able to get the pension until then.
Come on, now. Okay,
put on the yellow vest.
Tangents.
Sake, Jesus.
But I agree with with the lads though.
My,
Said they do flog. See the foreign imports or whatever you call them that are used in the
Mercenaries.
mercenaries. Well, okay,
they're immigrants, Mike. They're trying to get a better.
Don't go down the right, Peter. Let's keep it moving, yeah.
I'm talking like, this is all raised because of Wisconsin being dragged back from the Southern Hemisphere tour or the Southern Hemisphere Championship stem from, and people like have an opinion as to whether he should or should not have been. Like, there's always been an agreement that players will, if called up by their country, should take precedence. As far as I'm concerned, it always should. Your national team should always take precedence over any team. But however, if you're employing somebody like their salary, you're entitled to have some kind of dictation, as to when and who he plays for. So maybe, yeah. But
I mean, there was comparisons drawn, Mike, yesterday between the centrally contracted Irish players and the whole Will Skelton setup. So there is some slight comment on that. Okay, sorry, Mike. Have you finished up?
No.
All right. Okay. All right, gentlemen, we're over the hour mark, so that's it. I've picked 4 games. I would just like your opinion on win, lose, or draw. Dara Weston, I'll come to you first.
We're only 2 minutes over. For us, that's practically an early finish.
Yeah, I know, but I have to go for a piss. So if you don't mind.
Business.
Okay. Right, win, lose, or draw, gentlemen.
I'm getting one of those stadium buddies, that you hide down your jeans. I'll get you one of those on Amazon.
Can I just go through the games? Thanks very much. Okay, right.
You're
Oh, sorry. I just saw there's a comment here from Mike Sheedy. Let me just show this up here. Mike Sheedy. Some players never get time out going around a full year or burning them out, putting players' safety out or at risk. Yes, you're quite correct. We've spoken about that. We've mentioned that particular problem before. Okay, for women rugby World Cup games, because the rugby championship isn't back until the following week, and we discussed that yesterday. Okay, Tara, Ireland versus Spain, again mentioned yesterday, but let's have a collective.
Ireland. I think the
England are playing Samoa.
It'll be a physical game, but yeah, I think England will. Haven't seen their performance against America. Yeah, I think England are one of the powers of this.
They are, but I think Samoa might be a different beast now to England's.
I haven't seen the Samoan women's team recently, but Samoa, certainly in the men's, they always tend to be more powerful, and Fiji are always the more running kind of, Samoa and Tonga are the big lads.
Yeah.
But again, I can't comment on the women's team, but given the form of the English Roses, I would say they have to be favourites to win any match at the moment.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Good point there. USA versus Australia.
That's going to be a close one. I mean, the US will be coming back from the England loss. They're a good team. Ireland didn't do them justice in any way. It was quite embarrassing for a team that are that good. But Australia are a seriously good team as well. I think, did Australia get silver in Paris and the US got bronze? So I think they finished the second and third in the Olympics. Yeah, I'd say it'll be very
South Africa-
tight. Gee, I honestly don't know which way to go, so I'd say draw. I say draw because I don't know actually which one of them could win.
Okay, and if the last one I picked out, Dara, is Italy versus South Africa. Again,
I'm going to say Italy.
all right, okay. A lot of people online would agree with you, Dara. By the way.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Dara.
Just a point of order there. On last week, yourself and Greg had great predictions on the scoreline for the New Zealand Argentina game.
Yeah.
And you were so.
Yeah.
Do you owe the rest
Yeah, so
of us that were on the show with
null and void.
tenor for being so
My
complete?
bet was with Greg McWilliams alone, and I will talk to Greg in the morning. Okay, so just leave it alone. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There might have to.
No, there's no
Danny's the
TMO
tour judge
involved
point to
here
me,
at all.
so we'll pass it on to him.
Oh, for Christ's sake! All right, okay. Dan, let's just run through them. I think I know your answer to the first one, Danny. Ireland versus Spain.
Ireland, but I think it'll be a close game.
Do you think so?
And I think Spain are better than the result they got against New Zealand. So I think they'd be coming out good blazing. I think they're going to be a hard, tough team to beat. I'd say same again, Ireland maybe 7 points.
Can I just say one thing, right?
Yeah.
Danny,
Oh, for Jesus.
even though the England women beat Spain 97-7.
Yeah. But that's the big. Yeah.
All right, Danny. Second game: England versus excuse me, Samoa.
Oh, look, the only way Samoa are going to beat England is if England don't bother turning up.
All right.
That's it.
Okay.
Unless England win.
Okay. USA versus Australia. Dara has gone for a draw here. Danny, what do you think?
Let's see. 5th place Australia, 10th in the world, USA. This game will probably decide who comes second in the group after England. And at the moment, I'm going to give this to Australia. Probably a score in it. That's it.
Right. And finally, Danny, Italy are taking on South Africa.
Italy, many games that I know of. They did beat the New Zealand 15 second string team coming into this World Cup. I think they gave the confidence. But Italy for the win.
All right. Okay, that's it. Sorry, Mike Sheedy has just reminded me. Thanks, Mike. I forgot about that, but I was kind of concentrating on the World Cup. Round 2 World Cup. Yes. Thanks, Mike. Sorry, I forgot about that. The intros. Mike Grady, to you, Ireland versus Spain. Mike, go for it.
Ireland's going to be not as much as 40, but I think they'll win by.
I don't know, Mike. Are you going back?
I said they would put 40 points on Spain, and I stand by that. That doesn't mean they'll win by 40 points. I think they'll win by at least 20.
Grant. Brilliant. Thanks. England versus Samoa.
I think England will win by at least 50 points. Samoa were nilled at the weekend in their game.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. USA versus Australia.
Australia will beat USA.
So you wouldn't go with Dara saying a draw? No.
No. Australia will beat them.
He won't sit in the fence.
Fucking right, I won't.
He's not allowed. He's not allowed to in the fence. Okay. Lastly, Mike. Italy are playing South Africa.
I think South Africa will beat Italy. I watched South Africa play Brazil at the weekend, and they're a hell of a lot better than they were a year ago.
Right, brilliant. That's fantastic. Okay, I
South
thought you
Africa
were talking
beat
about volleyball there, Mike. I thought you were going to,
No.
have a wrist injury there or something like that.
I'm going with breaks my
Giggity.
heart. It breaks my heart to say it, but I just said it.
Brilliant. Okay. Okay, Matt Boland, last voice because I've gone around that way on the show this evening. We are way over time. Matt, Ireland versus Spain, I think you said yesterday.
Yeah, look, no disrespect to Spain, but Ireland are going to win that.
All right. Okay. England versus Samoa.
Yeah, England are going to win that comfortably, I'd say. It could be a cricket.
All right. Yeah. Okay. USA versus Australia, Matt.
I think that's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be who will do it.
Okay. Lastly, Matt, Italy are playing South Africa.
Look, again, this is another close one. It could go either way.
Yeah.
South Africa beat New Zealand as well in one away game. They won one, they won one, lost one. Do you know what I mean? But I'm actually going to go with the Italian women as well.
France nil Italian women in the game.
We're not talking about France and Italy. We're talking about Italy and South Africa. So shut your mouth, Mike, will you?
Always jumps in with these, whichever focus. Actually, gentlemen, sorry, Mike, one good thing you just said there.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
No, just jump in.
The war.
No, just jump in. I think that, now I don't know, Danny, maybe you can tell me, I don't know if they can meet the way that the groups are going, but I would love to see England play Canada. I think that would be a fucking great game.
They're number 2 in the world.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a great game. I think Canada might. I don't know
if they both win their groups.
They could. The way it's set up, Canada are in what group? They are in.
I don't know. That's how I'm asking you.
Depending on where if we finish first or second, we're going to play either France or Canada.
No, France or Italy.
Canada, France or South Africa.
Italy, is it?
France, Italy, yeah, because we're in Group C, so France and Italy are in Group D. We'll be meeting them in the round of the quarterfinals. Now, Canada and England could meet either in the quarterfinal
or the semi
or the final.
Or the quarterfinal or the final.
Oh, yeah. Right, okay.
Oh, I see. Right, I think that'd be a great game.
The way the quarterfinals are, the way the quarterfinals set up are, it's A versus B and C versus D in the quarterfinals. Then you switch them around.
Yeah.
Go in semi-finals. So that means you can't meet anyone maybe from your own group until you're either in the final or in the third or fourth place playoff.
Yeah. Okay, so Canada and England can't meet. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
You can, but
if both in the group they can meet before the final.
The fourth final, or it'll be in the third place playoff or the final. That's the only time you can meet.
Brilliant. Okay, I think that'd be a great game. All right. Okay, that is all we have time for, folks. We are an hour and 14 minutes. As always, it has been a pleasure chatting.
I'd say a drop or two came out with that cough.
I don't do the entire lot, I'd say.
I think he's wearing tenner for men, so he'll be all right.
I am. Okay. I must rush out that door there behind me for that. Okay. My thanks are to the team here. As I said, so we all make this happen. We are a team that brings this to you every week. And we hope you enjoyed it. Our thanks, our collective thanks to everyone watching, all your comments, and all that sort of stuff, and your involvement, and everyone. So my thanks to Matt, to Mike, to Danny, and to Dara. Gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your evening. We shall chat soon, probably within 5 minutes in our chat group. We'll do that. And don't forget, folks, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, we are talking to the ex-England international and Lions international. He's played for Sale, he's played for Saracens. Charlie Hodgson will be joining us, along with Greg McWilliams and Claire Devley. Also, subscribe to our Spotify account, and also if you hit subscribe on YouTube, so you get notified when we are live. It doesn't cost you anything. You just get a notification saying those Egypts are live again. So there you go. Gentlemen, I'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Good luck, lads.
Night all. Good evening, everybody, and thanks everybody for joining in.